Hey everybody, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. This is telling me I have a bad connection. I don't know why my Wi-Fi is on. I hope you guys can hear me and see me okay. If the connection's bad, okay, it now says I went from bad connection to poor connection, so at least I have a connection. Anyway, I was sitting here and I was reading the news today, and I saw this crazy story about a mom who was sent to jail for homeschooling her kids, and this really struck a chord with me because you may remember a few years ago I was involved in a case in Ohio where a mother was sent to jail for sending her kids to a school in the wrong district. And this was in Buffalo, New York. And I felt compelled to hop online to tell you guys about this because I don't know about you, but this is pretty outraged. Now, what I'll say is, let me tell you more about the story. One second. I'm reading it here at WKBW.com, which is the local news in Buffalo, New York. And it basically asked this question: was a Buffalo mom jailed over homeschooling decision? And what I've gathered, her name is Kiarre Harris. Kiarre. Kiarre Harris. They said that she started researching homeschooling last November. She says her two elementary school-age children weren't excelling at their failing Buffalo public schools. She said, I felt that the district was failing my children, and that's when I made the decision to homeschool. Harris says she filed documents at Buffalo City Hall, followed all the steps, informing the district of her intent to homeschool her children. So it looks like she did everything legally. According to, she spoke to 7 Eyewitness News. Her documents are dated December 7th, and the district says that it received her paperwork. And then she says, I spoke directly to the homeschool coordinator, and she told me from this point on, my children were officially unenrolled in school. So she says that, basically, that she was sort of given the green light, that this wasn't, this wasn't something that she did kind of, rogue or illegally. It looks like she followed the letter of the law. And it says that also that after about a week, she got a call from Child Protective Services who asked her, why are your kids not in school? She says, I told them that my kids were homeschooled now and I could furnish the documents if they need to see them. So thinking everything was fine, Harris says she went on to her homeschooling. But then less than a month later, she says she was confronted by CPS workers and police. According to Harris, they told her they had a court order to take her children, and when she told them no, she was arrested for obstruction. She says that she hasn't seen her kids in 3 weeks, and they've been in a foster home. The Buffalo Public School District says it cannot comment on this case due to federal laws, but says in order for a parent to file for homeschooling, they must have full custody of the children. Harris says she's a single parent and has always had full custody until her kids were taken away. And so I'm looking here on this date. They said the Buffalo Common Council is going to address the situation. Now, I don't know if any of y'all live in Buffalo. I know that we've got some people. We got some people in our little tribe that are in Buffalo that have reached out to us about us coming to the city. And I'll tell you what, this really concerns me. Let me do some research. I'm gonna look up her name and see if this has been resolved because the latest stories I'm seeing are from a couple of weeks ago. So let me look in here in the news section. Yeah, I mean the latest story I'm seeing is February 10th. So give me a second, guys. Let me look here and see what I can see if there's anything in the past week. Here it is. They said, here's an article that says, Mom accused of educational neglect speaks out at Common Council meeting. A Buffalo woman who lost custody of her children for educational neglect spoke out at the Buffalo Common Council Education Committee meeting. The district reported Kiarre Harris to Child Protective Services after extended absences from school. Harris says that the district failed to notify schools of her children's homeschooling arrangements. Now her kids are in foster care. What are the next steps, and who is going to be held accountable, and who is going to step up to the plate and admit that they made an error so that my children can be returned to me? I have not seen my children in over a month. So as of the 17th of this month, this sister has not seen her children because she took her kids out of the failing schools, out of these horribly destructive schools, these racist institutions. She followed the letter of the law, the white supremacist law that put these damn schools in place. She followed your rules, and you locked her up and took her children away and put them in a foster home. This is probably the most egregious example of systematic oppression that I can think of. This is about as clear of an example of systematic oppression as I can come up with. You give black people the worst schools in the country, the most failing schools in America, and then you make laws forcing those parents to send their children to those schools. And then when those parents try to send their children to a better school, you want to lock up the parents. When those parents want to homeschool them, they say, look, we don't even need you to educate our children. We want to educate our kids ourselves. You go lock up the mama because she's trying to educate the children that came out of her womb. What kind of sick bastards are you? What kind of sick situation is this that we tolerate in this country? I mean, this is unbelievable. I'm reading this, the more I'm reading this, the madder I'm getting right now. Let me read more. She says the discussion was tabled. Of course they're going to table her children's future. That's what they're doing. When they got you putting your kids in these crappy failing schools and these foster homes and all sorts of over nonsense, they're tabling your kids. And all the while they're sitting around, they're working through their bureaucracy, your children are headed toward a slow economic and educational death. So your children's futures are being destroyed by the second while you sitting around waiting for the politicians to make a move. That's why I can't stand politicians. That's why I don't care about what the Democrats tell me about, why vouchers are wrong or why charter schools are wrong. I don't want to hear all that. I don't want to hear none of that. You're protecting your labor unions. As a parent, I would not want my child going to a failing school while I wait for y'all to come figure out how we're going to get enough money to make these horrible schools good again. Oh, well, just wait. It's going to get better. No, it's not. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. The discussion was tabled until further details could be discussed in private. Harris arranged a phone call with Interim Associate Superintendent for Student Support Services, Eric Rosser. This is what Rosser says, the Interim Associate Superintendent for Student Support in Buffalo, which apparently is a horribly bad public school system. Quote, we as a public school district are very supportive of homeschooling parents. Oh, of course you are. You lock them up and put the kids in foster care. Okay, yeah, that's extremely supportive. I will be meeting with Miss Harris, hopefully within the next couple of days, hopefully, right? So this is not, so the death, the educational death, and the death of the future of black children is not something worth making into an emergency. It's something that he hopes to address in the next couple of days to really talk about. Getting more of what her experience has been as a homeschooling parent and see what ways we can support her. Well, goddamn it, the first way you can support her is take her out of jail and get her kids out of foster care. Maybe that's the first thing you need to do. Maybe that's where you need to start the conversation. She's not in jail right now, so that's good, but you need to get her kids out of foster care because her kids are being harmed while they're in that system. Those systems are not healthy for our kids. Foster care is like going to jail. Some of those kids get raped. They get beaten by other kids. All kinds of horrible things can happen to them. That's traumatizing for those children. At the meeting, Rosser detailed some of the services available to parents who choose to homeschool their children. Quote, it was a very nice presentation that you made with all the services and support that's offered for homeschool parents. I would like to state that I was never offered any of that. I was never offered any of those services or invited to any of those meetings, Harris told Rosser. Well, good for you. Good for you. Because I'm going to tell you what's happening right now. What's happening right now is you got a bunch of politicians trying to cover their ass. That's all it is. You got a bunch of people who got these little government jobs where these government jobs are designed to destroy black children unless you can milk them and manipulate them to make money from them through either these big corporations that make educational materials so that they can fail these kids. They're making millions of dollars off these little black children, or you can make money off of them through sports. Those are the two ways they make money off your kids, through sports or through all the government money that they get to maintain failing schools. So white ladies from the suburbs can come into the hood and teach at these schools and get their little salaries. Even though there's qualified black teachers everywhere, they hire the white lady from the suburbs. And then on top of that, these educational companies are making these curricula that they're selling to these districts that are not educating your kids. I know somebody who worked with one of those companies, and she said, "Boyce, I'm the only black person who is working on this company contract right now. This company just got $20 million to make curricula for a school district that is 80% black and brown, 80%." And she said, "I think I got hired because I was pretty much the token." She said, I think they hired me because they needed a black person on the, they needed a black person on the team so they could say they had a Negro." So that's how much of a sham this system is. And I'm going to tell you what, my argument, point blank period, is that every black parent in America should figure out how to homeschool your kids. This education system in America, especially in black and brown communities, it is an absolute death trap. It is a death trap for your child. The children are being victimized by violence in these schools. Children are being influenced by very, very unhealthy social norms in these schools, and they're not being educated in these schools. Now, I don't know what the hell kind of poison they're putting in the air at these schools, but your child has no business in any of these public schools. And so if you can get your child out, get them out. Get them out right now as soon as you can. There are ways to homeschool your children. What I love about this mother, which makes her my hero, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to see if I know anybody who can connect, because I want to help personally. This really bothers me. What I love about this mother is that she did what every mother and what every father is supposed to do. You don't let your children stay inside a burning house. America's educational system is a burning house. The American government and the American economic system, for the most part, in the long term, is a burning house. And you don't leave your children inside a burning house. So she said, "You know what? I don't know anything about homeschooling, but I can learn." And she figured out what she needed to do. I have a friend who did the same thing. Her name's Nomalanga Mushali Moses. She actually teaches a class on homeschooling, how to homeschool. And what Nomalanga did was she saw that her kids were being cheated in this school district. She saw her children were being mistreated, that they were telling lies about her kids, that they were telling her that her son had the personality of a demon when he went to school, even though he was a sweet child, that her daughter was doing all this crazy stuff that she never did at home. And she said, to hell with that. She left her job so she could get away from the racism on her job. And she said, "I don't know how to homeschool my child, but I'm going to figure it out." So she started reading books on how to homeschool a child. She figured out what the state regulations were, and now she homeschools her kids. Excuse me. And so she homeschools her children. She works for herself. And one of the things that she does is she teaches other parents how to homeschool their kids. Her website, I have it in front of me. It's theblackHomeschoolGuide.com. That's theblackHomeschoolGuide.com if you're interested. Let me see here. I'm going to look at the ratings of Buffalo Public Schools. Let me see here. I want to see, are Buffalo Public Schools any good? Let me see here. Does anybody know? Let me see. Okay, I don't see anybody telling me if they know anything. Let me see. Somebody says, let's see. Angela says, "I pray you are well. I really need to talk to you." If you want to send me an email, my email is boyce@boycewatkins.com. That's boyce@boycewatkins.com. I have to tell you the truth. I don't talk on the phone much because we got a lot of work to do. There's a lot to be done, and I just don't get on the phone very much because I'd rather talk to 10,000 people at a time than one or two people. Not because I don't respect you, but because there's just so much that needs to be done. Now I'm looking here. I'm trying to see if there's anything here that mentions the ratings or the average ratings of Buffalo Public Schools. I don't see anything. I'm going to see what I can look up. Let me see. Average rating of Buffalo Public Schools. Let's see if there's anything in here that comes up. Yeah, I don't see anything that tells me that the schools are any good. And of course, if I go to the school's website, they're going to tell me that all the schools are great. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of parents out here that are taking it into their own hands, and I just really believe one fundamental rule of being black in this country, to me, is that you should educate your own children. That's the first thing. If you can, educate your own kids, even if they go to school at public school. Educate them when they come home. Put them on the internet. Have them write book reports. Give them $5 to write you a book report. Have them, read something on the internet and come back to you and tell you what they read. Have them practice their reading, writing, and math. Those are the three things you need to know to be successful. If you can read, write, and math at a high level, then you can do anything you want. Next thing, every black child in America needs to know how to start a business by the age of 12. By the age of 12. Because that will be critical for their survival when they get 25 and they hate their job and they don't feel like they have any options. Number 3, every black child needs to know their history. You have to know your history. You cannot let these white folks teach you black history because they're going to fuck it up. Excuse my French, but you know what I'm talking about. They're going to jack it up. They're not going to tell you anything great about yourself. Well, black history should not start on the plantation. But in most of these public schools, black history starts on the plantation. And, the fact of the matter is that black history really needs to go back further. Why don't we start black history at Mansa Musa, the richest human being in the history of the world? Let's start black history there. And then have slavery as a blip on the screen. Slavery was nothing more than a chapter in our history. It certainly does not represent the entirety of our history. And when they teach it starting from slavery, what they're effectively doing is they're making you believe that you started with nothing and that you were nothing and that you've now become part of something. And the reason you become part of something is because white people have decided to allow you to become something. Everything that you have, everything you've done required a white hero or a white person to save you and lift you up and give you opportunities and include you and bring you in. And you see it all the time. Now you hear black folks literally talking about inclusion and acceptance and equality and all this other. What do you mean equality? What does that mean? You telling me I'm not equal to you? No, I'm not. Not only am I not equal to you, I'm probably better than you because my people have gone through more than you. My people have gone through more trauma and they've overcome more than you could ever survive in a million years. So don't tell me that I'm almost equal to you. I'm not almost equal to you. Maybe you need to try to be equal to me, but I'm not even going to put that out there because that's not possible. You won't succeed when you try to become equal to me because there's nobody tougher on this planet. There's nobody who's been through more, who's overcome more than the African American in this country. Nobody. So don't tell me about equality and inclusion. No, I might include you. How about that? Like, being closer to white folks does not make me a better and more successful human being. I reject that entirely. But many of us are brainwashed into thinking that way. We really think that when white institutions let us in, that's black progress. That's black history. Somebody said that. Somebody said that Tamron Hall. I love Tamron Hall. Don't get me wrong. They said Tamron Hall made black history because she was the first black woman to anchor on the Today Show. That ain't black history. That ain't black history. White people do not sit around and say, well, you made American history when you were the first white guy to be accepted into Howard University, or you were the first white guy to have a show on BET, or on TV1. They don't do that. They don't say that white history is reflected by being accepted by black people. They're not trying to be accepted by anybody. So I will just tell you the honest to God truth. Y'all need to get rid of this whole doctrine of acceptance and inclusion and fair treatment and all this other stuff. No, your well-being, your self-esteem should never be built on how people treat you. It should not be built on whether or not people are fair to you. Guess what? Life ain't fair, and ain't nobody ever gonna like you. Nobody likes anybody in this world. No ethnic group really likes any other ethnic group. The Jews can't stand the Asians can't stand the Arabs can't stand the whites. They all compete with each other. So get used to that mindset because that's the way the world works. Now, getting back to this situation with this woman, this poor lady, in Buffalo, my heart goes out to her. I'm just looking at this, and this is a little hearing. There's about maybe 8 people at the hearing. Don't nobody care. The community, if you're in the black community in Buffalo and you haven't jumped on this, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself because she should have all the community leaders, all the Negroes run around, pretending to be big voices in the community, should be right there fighting for her. You should be holding rallies on the courthouse steps. You should be demanding. You should go to that Go to that orphanage or that foster home where those kids are located, and you hold a rally right there at that foster home, and you tell them that these kids belong with their mother. We're going to come get these kids out of this damn house, and we got to come burn it down, because this is insane to me. This mother can't have access to her children over an administrative error. I mean, I'm reading and I'm thinking maybe there's another shoe. Maybe she was slinging crack. I don't know. I'm really looking for this. I read it with it. I was outraged, but I said, let's have an open mind here, because it's easy to believe that somebody just did something horrible to a black person for no reason, and we all want to get all riled up. But I'm reading this. I read 2 stories on this. I've seen nothing in either story that says that this woman did anything wrong. So I'm dying to understand why in the hell they still got her kids. Why do they have her kids? So she should not only get her kids back and get an apology, they should write her a check for about $1.5 million so that those kids can get therapy for the trauma that they've gone through from watching their mother get handcuffed in front of them. They should also have the $1.5 million to pay for their education all the way through high school and all the way through college. The city of Buffalo should be forced to write that lady a check for no less than $1.5 million for the hardship that they put her through, because what you just did was a form of racial terrorism. You terrorized this family because all they wanted to do, all they were black people who wanted to learn how to read and wanted to learn how to read and write and do math and wanted to teach themselves, wanted to educate themselves. So really, Buffalo right now, the Buffalo public school system has pretty much gone back to the days of slavery before Jim Crow. They've gone deeper than Jim Crow with this. This is straight slavery. This is what they did to black people who tried to learn how to read and write during slavery. This is insane. Give that lady her damn kids back. This is ridiculous. This is, I mean, where are the lawyers at? Where's the lawyer? Where's the Johnny Cochran of the city of Buffalo, suing the city for $10 million over this incident? Because I'm gonna tell you what, and this is why I believe that this woman deserves millions. I said 1.5 million. I'm being nice. Really should be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 million. Let me tell you why this black woman, her name is Kiera Harris in Buffalo. Let me tell you why she deserves even more than that. Do y'all remember that white woman who worked for one of the sports networks, the sports anchor who got recorded naked in her hotel room? Y'all remember her? Let me see. Let me look it up. I can't remember her name. She was recorded nude, and let me see. Here we go. TV sports anchor Erin Andrews. Erin Andrews was recorded naked one time in a hotel. Yeah, I want to make sure I got this right. Or maybe it was twice. Who's counting? I don't know. It's not right. Don't go recording naked women. Erin Andrews got recorded in a hotel against her permission, against her will. And they paid this white woman. She got on the stand. She did what white women do. Oh, it was so traumatic, all this other stuff. Because everybody wants to protect the white female. The white female's protection is paramount in the hierarchy of humanity. A black woman can go through the same thing a white woman went through. They're going to say, bitch, you deserved it. They don't care about black women. A black man goes through it. They say, well, you need to be dead anyway. When a white woman goes through a little bit of trauma, the whole world buckles and caves to whatever she wants. Erin Andrews, this white woman from ESPN, for being recorded against her will through a peephole, won a lawsuit and received $55 million. $55 million for being recorded through a peephole. Now, I'm not belittling what this lady went through. I'm sure it was traumatic for her to be naked in front of another person. Maybe that's never happened before. I don't know. Whatever. It's fine. But I'm going to tell you what. You offer me just $5 million, I'll get naked in front of all of y'all on YouTube right now, okay? I will get naked and walk down the street and stand out in freezing weather for 3 hours straight if you give me $5 or $10 million to do it. So the fact of the matter is that, at the end of the day, you got to look at this differential treatment. Now, somebody made a good point. They said, look, the hotel got sued because they gave out her private information. That was wrong. Okay, fine. Well, you know what? I would argue with you to say that whatever the school district did, however they fucked up and got this lady arrested and got her children taken away, I would argue that mistake's probably equally egregious to them giving out Erin Andrews' name when she stayed at a hotel. Wouldn't you say? I mean, what did they do? Somebody called the front desk and said, "I'd like to find out what room Erin Andrews is in." And guess what? The clerk told them where she was. Oh my God, that's just so sinister. That never happens. I mean, I've never gone to a hotel where somebody called and said, "I'm looking for Boyce Watkins," and they said, "Well, he's in room 208." I've never had that happen. Right? Now, I'm not a celebrity. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a super celeb, but I'm famous enough that I could get angry if somebody gave out my hotel room. I'd probably tell them no. If places where I go where people know who I am, I kind of ask them to keep that on the low. But if they did let it out, if they did say, "Oh my gosh, we're so sorry, Mr. Watkins, we gave out your name and your phone, your room number, and we shouldn't have done that," I'm probably not going to win a $55 million lawsuit no matter how many times somebody saw me naked. So what I will say to you is that if this white woman can get $55 million for being recorded naked, this black woman should get $100 million for losing her kids and going through the trauma of being sent to jail. Don't you know people get killed in jail? People go to jail for a night and get raped. People go to jail for a day and get beat half to death. Children go to foster homes and get raped. They get beaten. They get abused. They get mistreated. They get traumatized for life. So if this white woman can get $55 million for getting recorded in her hotel room, then this black woman should get $100 million for what she went through. So I started at $1.5 million, but now I'm driving a hard bargain. We don't went up to $100 million, whatever it is. I'm hoping that there is an attorney in that city that is good enough, that cares enough to go fight this case. And I'm going to tell you what, if you're listening right now and you happen to be that person and you take this case, I want you to email me and I'll interview you. I'll put you on my YouTube channel. I'll tell everybody. We got about 2 million people that follow us. I will tell everybody what you're doing because I want you to be the next Johnny Cochran because I have that much respect for what you're doing for this black woman. And I'm going to tell you like this. It's real important right now, brothers. You got to understand this. If you are a black man in that city, you need to go stand up for this black woman. You need to stand up for her. She should not be in that courtroom testifying by herself. She should have strong black men beside her who are fighting for those kids. I don't care if you know the lady or not. You should be standing next to that black woman unless there's something I'm missing, unless there's information about the situation that I'm not aware of, which I don't know. I've read, several stories. I'm looking for more information. I'm looking for them to tell me why any of this would make any sense and why this was allowed to continue and why this woman has not gotten her kids back. This is just insane to me. This is just insane. I can't take it. I got to go to bed because this is going to make my head hurt. I swear to God, I can't take it. This is too much. I'm going to check up on it. If anybody has any more information about this case, please email me. My email address is boyce@boycewatkins.com. That's boyce@boycewatkins.com. I'm flying to Orlando. We're doing our next tour stop in Orlando this week, so I'm going to Orlando. But I'm going to stop and I'm going to check my email. I'm going to try to see if I can find anything that's there because I just want to know what else is going on with this and how we can help. So please, let me know if you know anything. All right, guys, I'm about to get out of here. As I said, if you happen to live in Orlando and you want to come by and meet us, please go to drboyceorlando.com. That's drboyceorlando.com. Also, don't forget that if you are interested in things like wealth building, which is what I talk about a lot. I don't always talk about this stuff, but I care more about black people than I care about other things. But if you want to take one of our wealth building programs, please go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. And I want to apologize for the profanity, but I'm sorry. A mother losing her kids, that's worth cussing over. We need to cuss over that shit and let people know we ain't taking it. So I'm going to look into see what I can do to help. My condolences go out to the family. And if you live in Buffalo, please go out there and help this woman. Don't leave her out there hanging by herself. All right, everybody, I'm out of here. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon. Love you. Peace.